Putin bad news. The Wagner Mutiny has completely weakened Putin. Biden. According to President Biden, Russian President Vladimir Putin was absolutely weakened by the Wagner Group's brief uprising on Wednesday. Biden noted that the implications of this for Putin's ability to maintain control as his war with Ukraine drags on remain unclear. In all honesty, it's tough to say. Biden erroneously said that Iraq was in Ukraine. He's becoming a bit of a pariah overseas, and he's losing the war at home. The vice president's comments, made as he prepared to board the Marine One helicopter for a trip to Chicago to give a speech highlighting his economic efforts, were a departure from his measured and cautious approach to the unrest in Russia over the past few days. It might have been tempting for a president of the United States to gloat as Putin faced a deadly rebellion from his own mercenary forces. Up until this past Wednesday, however, Biden had done everything in his power to stay out of it and to encourage his most important Western allies to do the same. Biden was worried that Putin would be able to point the finger of blame at the United States if the privately run Wagner Group turned on Russia's formal military forces and joined the protests inside Russia. After reports surfaced on Saturday that Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin had turned on the Russian military and was marching north with his mercenary forces toward Russia, Vice President Joe Biden canceled his weekend helicopter trip to Camp David in Maryland's Catoctin Mountains and instead held conference calls with the leaders of France, Germany, and Nepal. Don't give Putin a reason to point fingers at the outside world for the chaos at home. According to a White House official, Biden's national security team was worried that the United States and its allies might exaggerate the threat to Putin's rule. Biden's national security advisor Jake Sullivan skipped a conference with Ukraine in Copenhagen to accompany Biden to Camp David on Saturday afternoon, where he briefed the president on the latest developments in Russia. Our position was made very clear. There was zero involvement on our part. Biden made this claim on Monday at the White House. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system. The leaders of the Allies agreed with me that we had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse. Let me emphasize, to blame this on the West or to blame NATO, Biden said. Being mindful of the dangers that unrest and a power vacuum would pose in nuclear-armed Russia, the measured response to Russia's instability is a strategy that borrows from George H.W. Bush's cautious approach to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. I think there's no doubt that this seems to be an internal issue, and I think it's pretty clear it was not even a coup, said Molly Dunnigan, an expert at the nonprofit RAND Corporation who has researched the role of private militaries in conflicts, who believes the United States administration took the best course of action. One of my coworkers coined the phrase, contract renegotiation gone wrong, to describe what happened here. When private military forces are used in conjunction with regular armies, a whole host of frictions develop, according to Dunnigan's studies. All this tension that erupts and lots of resentment between the forces can really negatively impact your military effectiveness over time. It has taken longer than hoped for Ukrainian forces to probe for weakness in Russia's frontline defenses and launch their summer counteroffensive against Russian military positions holding large swaths of eastern Ukraine. The White House is keeping tabs on the situation to see if the Wagner Group's mutiny has caused enough chaos in the Russian military command to compromise Russia's ability to halt further Ukrainian advances. University of Chicago professor Konstantin Sonin, an expert on Russian political and economic issues, says, one part of Biden's wisdom was not to rush before it was clear what was going on. It is possible that the front lines in Ukraine will feel the greatest effects of the uprising. According to Sonin, the most important thing is that this was beneficial to Ukraine and the Ukrainian armed forces. On Tuesday, the Biden administration revealed a brand new $500 million security aid package for Ukraine. Among the items included in this shipment are 30 Bradley armored fighting vehicles, 25 Stryker armored personnel carriers, additional equipment for clearing mines, and more Patriot missiles for defending Ukrainian cities and military installations from Russian air attacks. While at Camp David on Sunday, Vice President Biden spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The two leaders conferred over the Wagner Group's offensive against Russian forces and Ukraine's current counteroffensive. Vice President Joe Biden said on Monday that he assured Ukrainian Prime Minister Volodymyr Zelensky that no matter what happened in Russia, let me say it again, no matter what happened in Russia, we, the United States, would continue to support Ukraine's defense, its sovereignty, and its territorial integrity.